If you're thinking about selling your home in 2026, what you do before you actually list it is as important as what you do once the home is listed. Buyers today are more informed, more skeptical, and more comparison driven than they ever have been. So today I'm breaking down the 5 things that every seller should consider doing to their home before listing in 2026. This isn't about doing more work, it's about doing the right work. Let's talk about the 2026 buyer. They have more data, more online tools. They even have AI-driven estimates. Homes don't need to just be nice anymore. They need to be well positioned. The homes that win are the ones that feel intentional from day one. So before your home ever hits the market, here's what you should be doing. So the first point that I want to make is you need to start prepping earlier than you think. Preparation now starts a month, 2 months, 3 months ahead of you actually selling your home. It's not weeks in advance or a week in advance. The biggest mistake that sellers make is waiting until they feel emotionally ready to sell their home. Homes are like babies. You're never fully prepared. So do the best that you can, but don't wait for you to feel completely ready because that's probably never going to happen. This is why earlier prep matters. Time to address deferred maintenance. If you get started earlier, you have time to get the right contractors in there to fix the little things that maybe you haven't gotten around to doing yet. It also gives you time to budget upgrades instead of panic spending. So if you do want to upgrade like a bathroom or maybe do some work in the kitchen, you need to have time to budget for that. It also gives you the ability to plan around market cycles and avoid rushed decisions that cost money. This is where I see sellers save the most money. Not by cutting corners, but by having time to make smart decisions and make the right decisions for their home. Once you start early, the next step is just knowing what's actually worth doing. Strategic improvements, or not over-renovating. Not every upgrade adds value. Over-renovating is one of the most expensive mistakes that a seller can make these days. Today, the goal is buyer perception, not perfection of your home. So things like paint and flooring that need to be done, okay? So you don't need to necessarily go through and redo all the flooring in your house right before you sell it. But let's say you have a room in the house, maybe a bathroom or a half bath, and the flooring's original in there. You didn't really care for it, but it wasn't a room that everybody saw all the time, so you just didn't mess with it. If it bothered you when you bought it or bothers you to any degree, it's probably going to bother a buyer. So that's something that I would consider updating. Lighting upgrades that improve photos and showings are another thing you might want to think about. If you use me to list your house, I'm going to have a professional photographer in there, so your photos are going to look amazing. But that does nothing to help the actual walkthrough experience of a buyer. So let's say you have a room or a den or something where it's kind of dark in there. Consider adding light fixtures or lamps or things to kind of lighten and brighten that room. You also want to fix visible wear that signals this house needs work. So when buyers are walking through a house, even if you took care of the big things like the furnace, the roof, things like that, if they see a bunch of little things that just never got taken care of that are just wear and tear items, it starts to give them the impression that maybe you didn't maintenance the house well, even if you did. So like if you have baseboards that are scratched, or let's say a dog or a cat kind of scratched at the woodwork around the door, those are things you definitely want to take care of because, again, over the time of the showing, the buyer may think that you didn't maintenance the home well, even if you did. So a clear improvement plan keeps you from spending monies that buyers don't care about. So make sure that you talk to your agent. I always give my clients a really good understanding of where I think they should put their money because let's face it, not everybody's made of money. So you can't just fix all the things, or you would have. But let's sit down and talk about a strategic plan for what things to fix and what will do the best for you when you have your home on the market. Number 3, declutter and depersonalize with purpose. Buyers are buying a lifestyle, not your stuff. So let's talk about what to remove. Excess furniture, that's a big one. So let's say you have a living room and you have a couple of kids, and to keep them from fighting, you have an extra love seat in there, but you don't really need it. You just have it because it works for your lifestyle, but it makes the room feel smaller and more cluttered. Take that love seat, put it in a storage unit. Crowded countertops. You want to have all the horizontal surfaces in your home as free from clutter as possible. That doesn't mean they have to be perfect. So let's take the kitchen for an example. Let's say you have a toaster on there and you have your coffee maker, those kind of things that are daily use items. Those are okay to leave, but you don't want to leave cups and saucers and last month bills and everything laying out there looking cluttered. So kind of get that as kind of minimalistic as you can, make it look nice, homey, and inviting for a buyer. Packed closets and storage areas are another big one. If you have a closet that it's just jam-packed full of stuff, consider taking the things that you don't use all the time out of it and putting that in storage as well. One of the biggest mistakes I see sellers make is they will move all the stuff that they are trying to declutter their house from, and they'll just put it all in the garage. That's fine, but now the garage looks cluttered. So you haven't kind of really taken care of the issue. So if you can get a storage unit, put as much in storage as you can so that you have buyers that walk through and they can visualize themselves there. So here's why the depersonalization matters. Buyers need to see their life there, not yours. We want them walking through your house and imagining, gosh, my couch would look really good there. And I love the layout of this house. It works for my lifestyle. If they're looking at all of your overcluttered stuff, it's really difficult for them to do that. So you want buyers to feel like they belong, not that they're visiting for the weekend. Make sure that you give them a good experience, not a visitation. Pricing with strategy, not emotion, is point number 4. This is something that I sit down and talk about with all of my sellers prior to listing their home. I really sit down and I go through the data of what other houses have sold for in the area, what I think their house is worth, and why. I'm going to show you the data as to why that is. This is so important because you do not want to overprice your house or underprice it either, right? Like if you underprice it, you might be able to get a bidding war and kind of make your way back up there. But if you overprice it, you could really have a problem. Why, you might ask? So the point of listing your home, especially with a real estate agent, is that we want to drive as much traffic as humanly possible through your home. It is really important for us to get eyes on your house. And if nobody comes through it because they think it's priced too high, you haven't done anything. All you've done is put fancy pictures of your house online and it hasn't done anything. So you want to have the house priced appropriately, because if it sits too long, then buyers start thinking, geez, this house has been on the market for a month or 2 months or whatever, and they lowered the price a couple times. There must be something wrong with that house. That's one thing they think. And the other thing they think is, they probably overshot it. So that means that I can come in and I can offer them $50,000 less than what they listed it for. All of this thinking is what winds up being a detriment to your pocketbook at the end of the transaction. So please listen to me if I'm sitting down at your house and we're talking about pricing. I'm not going to just say, I think your house is worth whatever. I'm going to come with numbers and we're going to talk actual pricing strategy. And it's very, very important that we price it right as soon as we list it. Step number 5 is build your marketing plan before you list. Great results are planned. They're not accidental, okay? The old why don't we just list it and see what happens thing doesn't work anymore. You want to have a strategy. So there's some things that should already be decided before you list, and that goes along with that marketing strategy. If you list with me, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about our marketing strategy, but here's just something quick. Professional photography and video are a must. Your home is not only exposed on the MLS, it's online, it's on social media, it's on Zillow and Realtor.com and all those places. So you want to make sure that you're putting your very best foot forward. And you want to have a launch strategy built with your real estate agent that's designed for momentum. Again, we want to push as much traffic through your home as humanly possible. So once again, I'm going to come back to homes that feel intentional from day one tend to sell faster and with more confidence. Let's go over the final takeaways from this video. Selling in 2026 rewards a few things. It rewards preparation, clarity, and strategy. It does not reward, and in fact may punish, things like last-minute decision-making, emotional pricing, and guesswork. So the earlier you plan, the more control you keep on your timeline, your price, and your outcome. So if you're thinking about selling in 2026 and you want a clear, pressure-free strategy, I want to be able to help you. Reach out, schedule a conversation, or drop a question in the comments. You can like, subscribe, or you can comment with questions, and I will reach out to you and we can chat about the timeline for selling your house. You don't have to be ready to sell it right now, but let's at least start a conversation, because as we talked about in this video, we definitely want to enter this with preparation and not rushing.